Hey, Calvary, how are you today? It is great to have all of you join in with us. I made a mistake today, and I need to ask your forgiveness. Today, I forgot to schedule the live video. So we're still here, but I recognize that a lot of people will probably end up watching this after the fact when it's recorded instead of right now. We promised that we would do this last night, and I forgot to schedule it today. I did a bunch of stuff around the house today. Um, I helped somebody with a plumbing problem. I worked on Priscilla's cars. We have not driven our cars. And
So now
so,
they don't run.
yeah, batteries are all dead in all of the cars.
I am stranded.
Yeah. So we've been doing that, and then we've had a little shed that got nailed by,
A couple of hailstorms.
yeah, and there was like,
It was basically I don't know, there were like massive holes in the roof.
yeah, and it was time. It was time. So it's been taken
We're going to
apart.
plant a garden. I'm very excited.
Yes, we are doing a garden.
Until it hails again.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we won't have a garden.
So well, Calvary, today we want to kind of continue where we left off yesterday, which was kind of contentment and recognizing that God has now given us some ability to begin again to work and be hospitable in our homes. During the vast majority of this stay at home order, or during the stay at home order, we were not able to um,
Have
be,
people
to have
over,
people
to
over,
interact, really.
shake hands, any of those things. And while some of those things are still, we're not supposed to be have
Shaking hands or hugging.
yeah, which if it
Social
happens,
distancing.
there's a piece of this that for me, I'm like, it's just part of who I am and what I've done for years. So, I stick my hand out and then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do it, and you can't really retract
I
it.
can never mind. I'm taking
Yeah.
my hand back. No,
So,
but we were going to kind of tie hospitality into contentment. So that idea of contentment being recognizing that God has you where He has you, being content and really leaning into that. So leaning into the fact that for us, we live here, we live in Castle Rock, we live on this side of Castle Rock, we live in the cul-de-sac we live in, we live in the neighborhood we live in, and leaning into that and digging your roots down deep and recognizing this is where He has me and being all in where He has you at that moment.
yeah, so we're content with where he has us, which is,
Castle Rock.
yeah, Castle Rock, and it is Castle Rock under quarantine. And now we want to be thriving where God has placed us in that
Mm-hmm.
place. And not just, I think that there are some people who are like, man, we got pretty comfortable in quarantine. It was a great time for us to spend with family and kind of no distractions from that. And that was a blessing.
Yeah, I'm part of like a pastor's wife thing on Facebook, and they actually were able to kind of start opening up homes a little bit and doing like watch parties for services. And a couple of families were like, we kind of like just doing church in our PJs, so I don't think we're going to get together right now.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that as it is safe, we are going and doing what we have as a church and what we as Jesus's people, as his children, are called to do. And hospitality is really the number one way that we share the gospel.
And we, as a church, last summer, we read through the book, The Simplest Way to Change the World. It's super simple, it's really small. And there's another one on hospitality that's good. Gospel Comes with a House Key. I
Mhm.
feel like Simplest Way to Change the World is a little simpler.
Yeah.
Um,
We're not all Rosaria Butterfield. She's just an
she's just
extraordinarily
it's an
talented
amazing
person.
book. But just that idea that it takes, Josh and I were talking, it takes like what, 21 days to make a habit or something. So we've been out of the habit of hospitality. I realize I'm out of the habit in a lot of things. We decided a couple times now that we're not under lockdown as a family, we're going places. I did not realize how much practice it takes to get an entire family into a car and out the door. And it is ridiculous how long it takes us to get out the door
It
right now.
literally took us an hour on Sunday
It was
for our
so
four
fast.
grown girls
Our four girls and us to get
to
out the
get
door, and
into the
one dog.
car.
We didn't even take two dogs.
Yeah.
Um, so just that idea that for almost 60 days now, we've been kind of in this not not able to have people over, and so we've gotten out of the practice of it. I know for us, it's we finally were able to have somebody over on Friday, and oh, it was so fun. But then it was still a little bit like, at first I was like, no, I am allowed to do this because it's within our guidelines. And, I've,
Dogs are gone.
but it just, getting that hospitality muscle back in shape might take
Mhm.
a little work.
Yeah, so as we do that, let's just kind of, I want us to think a little bit about what that looks like. And I think as we look at hospitality, there's two ways that it impacts the gospel with us. One of those ways that hospitality impacts the gospel is internally in the body and in the
Mm-hmm.
church. And so inviting people in the church into the way that you do life. And so for you, you may say, hey, we're not ready for people to come over to our house yet.
And that's fine.
Yeah, but you say, if we could social distance and sit in the front yard, 6 feet away from one another and talk, hey, this is a really good step for us to be able to do. Meet in a park together so that you can enjoy one another, take those social distancing steps, but begin to love on and care for one another in the body. And that is one of the ways that the gospel thrives.
And then another way I really think the gospel thrives through hospitality is reaching those around you that don't know the Lord
Hmm.
and don't have a relationship with Christ, but inviting them into your home, sharing a meal, and sharing Christ with them is a great way to share the gospel and let them see, who you are, what Christ has done for you, what He's done for your family, and then impacting unbelievers through
Yeah.
hospitality.
So these are some just main tenets of who we are as a Calvary Church. We connect with one another
Mm-hmm.
authentically, and we as a church are going and showing and telling the gospel boldly. That's just kind of some DNA of who we are. And we need to make sure that as we go through this, we remember who we are. Um, and we continue, even though we've made this habit for a couple of
Which we had to,
2 months, we've made this habit. Now I think we need to begin to break out of that habit into
as
other
we
ways.
can. I
Yeah.
mean, right now it's still awkward. We have 6 people in our family right now, and that only means that we can have 4 people over.
So there's
And
some families in our church that were like, hey,
we would love to
let me
have
see
you
if I can
over,
find
but
out how to give away a kid and then you can come over or
and
whatever.
so it does. It takes work and it takes a little more brain effort to try to make it all work. But also, too, we were saying, if you're in an at risk category or you're just a little nervous about, making this step yet, then understand that there's freedom there, and don't feel coerced. If you say, hey, I'm not comfortable going out yet, then say that. Say, hey, I'm not quite comfortable with that yet. I'm so thankful. When I'm ready, I'll let you know.
Yeah, and as you invite people over, give them an easy way out, especially
Mm-hmm.
with your unsaved neighbors. In fact, I would encourage you, if you're going to invite an unsaved neighbor over or someone who doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
the Lord over, you be really careful to make sure that before you even get into that, look at kind of their habits, the way that they're living, how are they talking to you? Are they, and begin to kind of try and read what they're doing so as not to cause an offense in that. We looked at a couple weeks ago the if we cause an offense or cause a brother to be offended, it's a really bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's
So just be
condemnation of that.
mindful and considerate. And I think we're kind of in this phase, at least here in Colorado and Castle Rock, Douglas County, where we're kind of probably stuck to this 10 is the number for probably quite a while. And I do think that as responsible believers, we probably need to try to work within that as much as we can. And and that, I think, too, is a good testimony to your unbelieving neighbors as you practice hospitality. Peter talks about that all the time, just that idea of as we obey and do what's right, then it doesn't give the world a chance to speak ill of us.
So I think if we were to kind of just review really quickly, hospitality is part of who we are as believers.
Mm-hmm.
It is an opportunity for us to share the gospel with one another, connect with one another on an authentic way on the basis of our
Mm-hmm.
shared faith in Jesus Christ. It is also an opportunity for us to go and show and tell the gospel boldly,
Yep.
to be able to invite people into our homes. And right now, we have the freedom and we have the ability to safely be able to meet together in groups under 10. So one of the ways to do that is to meet with people outside, invite them into your
The
backyard,
weather's nice.
invite them to, do lunch on the driveway. Even if you say, hey, you bring your food, we'll bring our food.
Yeah.
There are safe ways to be able to do that. You can bring them in, you can invite people into your house if that's a place that you are comfortable with.
Hmm.
Then you can go ahead and begin to do those things with these guidelines. But just be very conscious of the social distancing. Be very conscious as well of,
Wash your hands.
yeah, yeah. And you didn't think you would ever be telling people you need to stay clean and wash your hands, but be just really
Yeah.
conscious of that. And one of the ways to be conscious of that is to let people know, hey, I'm going to go wash my hands again, or I'm going to
Mhm.
go, and just that way people are hearing safety in you.
And they care for me. Then they
Yeah.
feel like, oh, this person cares for me.
Yeah. So we just want to encourage you, church, as we move forward into the future, to begin as they open up, to allow yourselves to open up your house and your thing with those places in a safe way so that we are living as the people that God created us to live as, people who are the children of God
Mhm.
in the world to be able to reach those who do not know him. Well, we have a business meeting in church on Thursday night via Zoom. Links for that can be found on our website at calvarycrossway.org/online. And we would love for you to be there. If you are a member, we would love for you to be able to vote in that meeting. If you are not a member, we would love for you to be able to be there and listen, but you won't have a vote in that meeting. We just want you to know our books and everything, what we are wide open. And we want you to know, especially if you're kind of testing us out to see, is this the kind of place? We want you to know how we do business and want you to see that we love one another. All right. Well, Calvary Crossway, Musgraves are going to go figure out what's been happening upstairs while
That made
we've
the
been
dogs
here.
bark. Intruder alert. I
All
don't
right.
know.
We will see you guys tomorrow night for family worship.